We are live. Super Terb Podcast, episode 35. Got my guest here, Scott Wood. Say what's up.
What's going on, everybody? How
As
you guys doing?
you know the drill, I've got to get my Facebook business page up. I'm going to share the personal, tag some friends, and then we're going to get right into this. I got a great show. I'm so excited to have Scott here with me. It's going to be a lot of fun talking some hoops, what he's doing now with business. And we already got 8 people on the mic. Here we go. Let's go. So I'm going to go ahead and share the personal. And then when I come over here, I will tag everybody.
There you go. Now all my family will be able
to find it. On there.
We'll be able to find it a little easier.
Cool. So then once this is good, so I'm going to go and tag. And make sure we get everybody. Got to tag my wife, too.
Don't forget that one.
My dad. And, of course, you. Where are you? There you are. Anybody else you want to tag?
That's all.
They'll find
it
you.
there. Yeah.
This is going to be hot right here. And once it posts, we're good. Come over here, hit record.
Let's get it.
And welcome to the Super Terb Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Terb, your local real estate expert with the Aviator Group, Coldwell Banker HPW, a.k.a. Super Terb, a.k.a. Coach Terb. And I'm back with episode 35. I can't believe it's the 35 podcast. I started this podcast last fall. I don't know why I always tell people why I started this. If you've been listening, you know what's going on. But I talk real estate, business, sports, and beer in the triangle with an emphasis with a real estate update, but then bringing on entrepreneurs, local business owners, former athletes, coaches, you name it, to come on and tell your story. And at the end, I like to feature a local beer of the week because I like cold beer. We're stringing our Super Terb koozies here, right here, football edition. If you want one, so it's a merch, reach out to me. We'll take care of you. I have Scott Wood joining me, and I remember watching you hooping from 2009 to 2013 for NC State. Played for Coach Lowe and Coach Godfrey, correct?
That is correct.
Shooting daggers from the corner, running corner back. I know all about that. And now you work with Northpointe Bank as a business development specialist. So we're going to get into what you're doing there now to help people with their financial goals. Talk about playing professional hoops. I got a lot of great questions for you. But before we get started, I got to talk about real estate, okay?
Okay.
All right. Real estate, guys, they just launched a new series, Top 10 Reasons Why You Sell Your Home Now. Of course, we're in the fall. I love this weather. It's just fantastic. Can't believe October's upon us. We're going to have pumpkins. We're going to have trick-or-treat, Halloween. And a lot of people think, hey, Terb, should we sell or should we wait? I tell all the sellers right now, no. List now. If you're at all thinking about selling, I got a couple reasons for you. One, we have still very little inventory. We're right at about 2 weeks of inventory. We just listed 2 homes over the last weekend. One got 3 offers, one got 6 offers. Can't be that detailed, but just put it this way: they both sold for over $30,000 over asking. Only takes the right offer. Of course, with the Super Term marketing strategy, we'll be able to help take care of you. If you have any questions, guys, about how we could help you accomplish real estate goals, that's what we're here for. I'd love to have the opportunity. We could do a no obligation market analysis to show you how much equity you're actually sitting on, because buyers need homes, guys. We have, like I said, 2 weeks of inventory. Would you believe in January of 2009? Actually, when you started your NC State career, we had 19 months of inventory, 20,000 active listings. It's not like that now. So anyway, that's my real estate update. I want to get to the fun part now. Get Scott Wood. I'm going to take a quick break, little message, and on the other end, we're going to get started, all right?
Sounds good.
Let's go have some fun. And welcome back to the Super Terb Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Michael Terb, your local real estate expert with the Aviator Group, Coldwell Banker HPW. And I've got a great guest, Scott Wood, man. We just met, I don't know, a few months ago. I don't know, I had Coach Lutz on. We reached out, and I thought it was an honor. We've got to know each other. And I was like, man, you got to come on my podcast. I got to talk hoops. Of course, if you guys don't know, my hashtag's Coach Terb. I coached college basketball as a manager with Bobby Lutz down in Charlotte from 99 to 02. Went to coach at Ouachita Baptist University, D2 school in Arkansas. So now my hashtag's Coach Terb because I just coach people buying some real estate because it's all about game planning and winning.
Yep.
So I'm talking a lot here. You start now. Tell everyone, I've introduced you about 13 times. So tell everybody who you are and where you're from.
So I'm Scott Wood. Grew up in Marion, Indiana. Obviously a hotbed for high school basketball. Got a love for basketball early on.
Hey, Scotty, already
realized I was going to be good at it. Ended up, getting in touch with NC State basketball. Monty Tao, who is from, hopefully I'm not wrong, Converse, Indiana. One of my family members will correct me if I'm wrong. Converse, Indiana, which is literally about 15 minutes from my hometown.
Converse, Indiana.
How many
people are in Converse, Indiana?
I would say 2,000 max. I mean, tiny.
Now, where is that? You're about to tell me where that's near.
So I always explain Marion, Indiana, which is where I'm from, is about halfway between Fort Wayne and Indianapolis, right up 69. Converse is literally 15 minutes about, I'm gonna be wrong on this and someone will comment, southwest of us. Oak Hill High School is where it is at. And it's kind of like our country rival school. There you go. Rita Baker, it ain't Rita Gennari anymore. Rita Baker, one of my family friends. So she was from there as well. So Converse, Indiana, anyways, they recruited Julius Mays, which was my high school teammate early on. So I got to know them early on in my sophomore season at high school. Had a really good sophomore season, had a really good junior season, ended up committing, I think, early on in my junior year. Got a great connection with Monty Tao, Sidney Lowe, who was the first coach there.
Trying to get Coach Lowe on the podcast, too. He says he's coming on. He's always evasive.
Yeah.
I got to secure him. He's hard to tie down.
That sounds about right. So
yeah, we'll get
hopefully
Coach on
he
here.
can see me on here and we can get.
I'll make sure I tag him. I'm going to text him a link, say you're next.
Exactly.
Then he'll say, let's schedule it. And I don't know what's going on.
We'll make it
find a remote. All right,
make it work.
So when did you start playing hoops?
So early on, about as early as I can remember. The story is, I was 6 months old. We went to a carnival.
6 months old.
6 months old. My mom, I know she's on here. She might tell me it's a little bit later. But
which one's your mom?
It'll be Tawny Lynn is where it'll be.
Okay,
she'll
coming
pop
in
up
here
eventually.
We got a question real fast though before that. How the influence impact your sister had in your life? Well, that's great. I imagine that's the sister.
Shayna. That will be my sister.
Now, you older? She older?
She is 1 year younger.
1 year younger.
Yep, she's July.
My sister's 3 years older, but she just tells everyone we're 3 years apart. And they think I'm older. I fall on the sword.
That's all right. That's all right. So I used to beat her up. So I'd like to think I made her a better athlete.
Did she play anything?
She did. She played at Taylor University, at NAI school, a little Christian school in Upland, Indiana. She played there for 4 years. She's the complete opposite a basketball player as me. She rebounded and was a bruiser, and I was a little bit more finesse and shooting and more offensive. So that is correct. It's complete opposite.
So you start playing hoops. Yep. Shot 6 months at a carnival.
Yep. So I was at a carnival, and I was, throwing the ball up there, and the guy's like, "Oh, put him up here." And my dad said, "You don't want to do that. Like, you just don't want to do that." He's like, "No, put him up there." So they put me up on the little platform, made all the shots, took all the toys. And my dad literally looked at him and he's like, "That's why I told you not to do that." So as far as I can remember, I had the Michael Jordan, Larry Bird basketball goals that were sitting at my crib, pictures to this day when I was younger of me just shooting hoops. So, I mean, it was from day one. My dad played basketball, started junior college, played 1 year at Western Carolina, went back home to Marion College, which is now Indiana Wesleyan, a really good program.
Is that true?
I don't even think I took a charge. I don't even think I took a charge. I can promise you that. So, I've been extremely blessed. Basketball has, done a lot of things for my life, obviously going overseas, and then it's kind of got me involved with even the mortgage side of it. So I've just been lucky and fortunate that basketball has been able to take me to the places I've been.
Well, so tell me about your high school playing days, man. And then when did you know, probably very early on as your childhood, but when did you realize, college basketball, especially at the highest level where you played, was a possibility? And then maybe just talk about the biggest challenges or adversities that you faced, as a teenager to get to that level. I'm sure you obviously had to spend a lot of time in the gym, but talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in Indiana, I mean, I tell everybody you're either going to be a farmer or you're going to play basketball. Those are your two options. And
it's kind of like in Blue Chips.
Yeah, I wasn't about the farming life at the time. So basketball was the easy out. So, it really is. Hello, Robert. How are you? So the way I explain it is, I mean, it's huge there. I mean, my gym held, 7,200. I don't know what it is. Huge gym. I mean, we pretty much sell out every game.
Your town's 2,000 people.
My town's bigger than that. Converse, where Monty Tao is about 2,000. It's a little different. But it's the same. It's the same concept, even at the smaller schools. Basketball on the Friday, Saturday nights, the game nights, I mean, they're packed. Everybody goes there. It's what you do. It's not a big football area. It's basketball. Everybody wants to go to the basketball games. I was lucky enough to have really good teammates, Julius Mays, guys that had played college basketball. TJ Jones is another guy that really drove you to be good because you knew you had good players there. So, especially kind of around my sophomore year, I really had started to excel. Summer played really, really well, and that's kind of when I knew, coaches started coming along, started to do some of the recruiting process, and that's when it kind of hit me. This is a possibility for me to, obviously play Division I basketball.
When did the recruiting start for you?
Pretty early on. I mean, obviously, after my freshman year, I was one of the ones that played JV because our team was really good. Played JV my freshman year, which looking back, obviously, I know my mom is one that would have wanted me to play varsity my freshman year, but I think I was able to grow. I was able to get a lot of playing time, really kind of to get better. And then my sophomore year had a really good sophomore season, started every game. And then my junior year is where I really started to blossom.
Got the 5th largest high school basketball gym.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So I'm telling you,
it's pretty cool, man.
It's different. It is. I tell everybody, if you get the opportunity to go watch a high school basketball game at one of those schools, Newcastle's the largest one. It's worth
How about the high school versus Cameron?
It's very similar. Honestly, it's very similar because
I'm thinking of that analogy.
Because Cameron's
9,200.
Cameron is a little bit smaller. The fans feel like they're on top of you, and it's always sold out. It's very similar. Obviously, Cameron gets really loud. I've been on the wrong end of games there, but it's very similar. It's just kind of got that small field that everybody from the town's coming there. Everybody's there to support that one cause, that Marion Giant basketball, and that's kind of how it led to going to NC State.
And that's okay. Kind of brought me to the next question: is what made you come to State? You kind of already addressed that.
Yep.
And what was the program like when you arrived? Coach Lowe was there. I think it was 2009.
Yep.
What was the current status there? What was it like?
It was tough because the one thing that I learned early on was the history. Obviously, you have the 2 national championships, all the great players that had been there. I learned that, kind of great history that NC State basketball has. And at the time when I was getting recruited, it wasn't necessarily there. They had some struggling years. Obviously, Sidney Lowe had been coming in.
When did Coach Lowe arrive?
He came in, I want to say 3 years before me.
06-ish or
yep.
07.
So
Coach Lowe's a past client, super term.
Yeah. So that's obviously we have that great connection.
We
there.
do. Small world.
He came in and they weren't doing great. And the one goal for me was coming from Indiana, which I considered the hotbed of high school basketball. I wanted to play in the hotbed of college basketball, which I thought the ACC was
let me backtrack real quick. Where other offers did you have?
I call it random. Obviously, all the Indiana schools that I used, the Purdue's, the Notre Dames, the Butlers. Rick Majerus was at St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really cool opportunity, was to get to know Rick Majerus. Pittsburgh, Penn State, Virginia Tech, Miami.
So really,
it was
you had your choice.
It was quite a few.
That had to be really cool. So did you utilize all 5 visits?
I didn't. And that's the thing I tell everybody. Looking back, when people get recruited, they see it almost as a nuisance. Like all these coaches are, they're just promising all this stuff, hyping you up. It's hard to get a real gauge for it. But the one thing is you got to enjoy it because it only lasts for so long. And that's one of the things I committed really early, so I didn't necessarily enjoy it. But also, when you know. And I knew when I got to know the staff and I was on campus at NC State.
When you visit, did you go to a football game or what did you?
I didn't even go to a football game. I went to a basketball game, and believe it or not,
who were they playing?
They're playing Miami, and Julius Mays, my high school teammate, made a game winner.
Nice.
So it's one of those things that, I had a great experience. And once I knew, it's kind of like, okay, all these other schools are coming in, but you knew NC State, Raleigh was the right place for me.
So give us a story about Coach Lowe that not many people may know about. Obviously, PG-13, but some funny story and anecdote. What was his pregame talks like? I mean, there's got to be something you can share that obviously you thought of something. I saw something register.
Well, it's I don't know if it's fully podcast appropriate, but I'll share it anyway. I won't name names, but to this day, so we're in practice, and obviously you have altercations in practice. I mean, it's just guys are going at each other. People want playing time, so they're playing. And I had 2 players at the time that were battling for the same position. One was starting, one wanted to, get more minutes. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just start like getting ready to scrap, and they both kind of square up. And I'm kind of looking at Coach Lowe. I'm like, all right, what's he going to take for him to get involved? And next thing I know, one of the guys throws a punch and connects. And so I'm still sitting there like, okay, is he going to step in? And I slowly see him kind of backing out of the way. And so that's when I knew. I was like, okay, he's not going to get involved because they were really throwing haymakers. So I had to get in. So to this day, I just kind of see his face and he's kind of like, I don't want to get involved in this.
I'm good.
So to this day, I see it, but I really did.
You remind him of that every now and then?
Every once in a while, but to this time, I just enjoy my time with that whole staff. I mean,
that was a good time.
Pete Strickland, Larry Harris, Monty Tao, Levi Watkins. I mean, it was just a great staff. We got guys that have a lot of college basketball experience, not only from the coaching side of it, but also the playing side of it. I mean, they all had great careers.
Yeah, that's a lot of basketball knowledge right there, man.
Yep.
A lot of experience. Yep. So when did Coach Godfrey come in? Coach
Godfrey came in going into my junior year.
So you had 2 years with him?
2 years, yep. Okay. First year we went to the Sweet 16. The second year we were preseason 6. Really a lot of expectations. Had 3 McDonald's All-Americans coming in that were with a lot of returning Sweet 16 teams. And we just didn't mesh very well. It didn't really click. Obviously, looking back on it, that's one of the things that I really wish, I say be a better leader, but would have just spoke up more just to kind of get the guys all together on the same page. Because looking back on it, I tell everybody, there's some national championship teams there, but from a talent standpoint, that's one of the most talented teams probably to ever come through NC State. And a lot of people look at me crazy, but we just had a roster of a lot of good athletes.
Give me the 5 you had then. Was that with CJ?
So I had
Leslie there.
I had Lorenzo Brown at point guard.
Yeah, he was strong.
It was me, Rodney Purvis, and TJ Warren were the 2 5-star recruits, kind of jockeying for that position. CJ Leslie and Richard Howe. And on the bench we had Tyler Lewis, who was another McDonald's All-American. So it's just one of those things that we just didn't really get the mesh. We had a couple tough losses. I mean, we're still just so talented. We could beat teams. But looking back on it, that very easily could have been a Final Four team that year.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar. I mean, in basketball, there's only one ball. So everyone's got to know their roles and play together. And sometimes it really meshes. And then sometimes, you kind of scratch your head. You have a question here. First of all, we got some Steeler talk going on. I don't know how I can handle that.
I don't think we want to talk about that.
Someone asked, were you a better shooter or Godfrey? I'll put these up here as we go. And
so Mark Gottfried, every day I'd come. Every day I'd walk in the gym, and he would never really shoot with me, but he'd say, "Hey guys, look, it's the second best shooter in the gym," and he'd always refer to me. So to this day, that's the only thing he'd ever say to me.
So they got any motivation halftime speech that made a difference, or still remember that you could talk about.
And
then Judy's going to church, and she says bye. That's awesome.
I don't remember any a motivation at halftime. There's a lot of good ones after. I mean, obviously Coach Godfrey had the one where he would say, the plane's waiting for you, the bus is waiting for you. All you got to do is win. That one's probably the most memorable, but it's just one of those things that as an athlete, you're ready. And if you're not ready, I had an argument with Joe Giglio. Shout out to Joe Giglio. We had an argument over social media actually about the Baylor Gonzaga game, and they were just like, "Oh, they weren't ready to play." And I'm like, "If you're not ready to play for a national championship game, you just don't need to be there."
Yeah,
it's just one of those things as a player.
You got knocked in the mouth, and
and sometimes
it's like a boxer.
Sometimes, there's a few guys that need a little talking to, but at the same time, it's like I'm here to play, so you got to come every night and bring it.
So, what was it like playing for Godfrey?
It was a lot of fun. That was another one. That's a great staff. Bobby Lutz, who me and you have talked about all the time. If I ever put a staff together, he's the first one I'm calling. Orlando Early was one of the greatest recruiters there. Rob Moxley, another one.
Well, we called you guys UNC Charlotte North because that was the staff I was a manager for.
Yep, and it was great. I mean, to this day, all those guys were, just a joy to be with. I should probably keep in contact better than what I have. But they're just good guys. And to this day, that's one of the better staffs I've ever been a part of.
So you've already kind of told a story about Coach Godfrey, the shooter, and what have you. What, as far as playing in the ACC, what was that like, man?
It's a blast. I mean, it's the best conference in college basketball, in my opinion. I mean, even to this day, you just got, obviously, the triangle. You got the Duke, North Carolina, NC State right here. I mean, in the summer, you're playing pickup with the guys, getting better. And on top of it, you got Wake Forest that's obviously down the road. So it's just one of those conferences that you can't take a day off. You got to bring it every night. Boston College gets picked on an awful lot in our conference, but at the same time, you take a night off and Boston College is going to get you. So
they're all. I mean, it's all. What was the hardest place to play?
Well, the funny thing is Boston College is hard to play because they don't always have fans there, so it's kind of hard to kind of get yourself going at times.
The depth perception.
But that's a good question. I mean, obviously Duke's hard to play in just because it's Cameron. I mean, they're on top of you. I mean, we were up 20 one year, blew a lead, and to this day, me and Lorenzo Brown were this close talking to each other. I'm like, I cannot hear you. Like to this day, I could not hear him. So Cameron's obviously hard to play. My favorite would be Greensboro Coliseum or Florida State. I always played well there. I have no idea why, but always played well there. So that'd be an easier question is the favorite place to play.
And this is a question I was already going to ask, but Frank's asked who was the best player you played against. I was actually, who were the top two that you knew if you would. Did you ever beat Carolina?
That's a mean question. I did beat them, but my record wasn't that good against
well, at least you got them. Yeah, I was going to ask who was the top two players, the hardest players that you knew maybe they're going to come in and guard you. You knew you were going to have a tough night or a hard night.
So I'm gonna take the easy way out on this. Okay. So I was with Golden State for training camp, and it was the first year Kevin Durant was coming. And the very first play we went live, I was in, and Kevin Durant was coming down the court, and I'm kind of looking around like, somebody gonna match up with him? And nobody stepped up. So I stepped up, and he just rised up and made a shot. And afterwards, I got home, and I looked at my wife, and I kind of told her the story, and then I called my mom, and I said, I just want to let you guys know I'm not going to be here very long if I keep guarding Kevin Durant. So the first one to me that comes to mind is Kevin Durant. I mean, he's 7 foot.
Well, first of all, did you say that's part of my language? Oh, shit, that's Kevin Durant.
Yeah. I mean,
you've got to have the, oh, my God moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
That Kevin Durant is in front of you.
Well, and
you can't do that, I know, but it's different. That's pretty big time.
It was just sitting there in that moment, looking back on it. I mean, I really, really enjoyed it. I told you the story about trying to beat him to the gym, and I never beat him to the gym. And he's 7 foot, wingspan of 7'5", and can shoot a 3 and can dribble. It's not fair, but he still puts the work in and still beat me to the gym every day.
He helped bring the gold home this year.
Exactly.
Without him,
exactly. So
now it's coming off the Achilles.
Yep. So he's gonna be good. So my first one that comes to mind is Kevin Durant, and then I'm trying to think going to college, guys that really gave us some fits. Obviously, you got Mason Pullman comes to mind. I grew up with Mason in Indiana. He was in college with me. He was, I wouldn't say he gave us problems, but he was always really good. Now he's been in the NBA, 9+ years. There's just so many.
Of a career.
Yeah, there's just so many of them. Malcolm Delaney, my first 2 years when he was at Virginia Tech, was just always crafty, could always get a bucket. Now he's overseas with Barcelona, making probably $1.5 million a year. I mean, it's just one of those things that they're. I came across so many. Obviously, I'm cheating with the Golden State one because there's Steph and Clay and Draymond. All those guys were right there. But the first one that comes to mind, hands down, the best player.
Draymond likes to talk then.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys. I got there and we played 4-on-4, and he was on my team, and I loved him. I loved him being on my team. As soon as he got on the other team, I'm like,
I hate this guy.
I hate this guy. I don't want to be him. But he's one of those guys when he's on your team.
Love him. Oh yeah, I can see that.
So Kevin Durant's my cheat. So I'm gonna get out easy, and I'm gonna say Kevin Durant.
What is? I'm gonna ask one more college question and go towards the professional career you had. But the fondest memory you had at State. Like, what's one thing that you just think back at and say, man, that was awesome?
It's pretty easy. It's just the tournament in general and going to the Sweet 16. There was nothing like that.
No, I not to interrupt you, but being a manager, I was at Charlotte as a manager from 99-02, and we were back in the old Conference USA with Louisville, DePaul, Memphis, Marquette, St. Louis. It was some great basketball. Yep. And that's when we had Rodney White, Damon Brown, Diego Rivera, Joby Thomas. We were loaded, similar to what you were talking about. Yep. And my first year we went to the NIT, but we had a couple guys sitting out. But our next 2 years went to the tournament, and there was nothing like I still have. And we won the Conference USA championship in the old Freedom Hall in Cincinnati. So there's nothing like you said. I remember we were in Dayton before it was a play-in game, but I remember their open practice, and I look up and there's not a seat not filled for a practice and then playing a game. So there's just that survive and advance until you're inside the ropes. Even as a manager, it's just like the coolest thing. Yeah. And I tell you, I've been to, I'm a big Steeler guy. I've been to the 2 of their AFC championship games. So they're at home. It's the last game no matter what. Awesome atmosphere. I've been Bristol Motor Speedway is one of my favorites. I don't know if everybody would agree with me, but that was a lot of fun. I've been to Ryder Cup in France. Wow. So I've been to some really good events, and there's just nothing like a Sweet 16 playing in the tournament, that atmosphere. You lose, you go home.
all the fans, are there going crazy. And we actually had the fun part of it was the next game on that Sweet 16 was Carolina, same place. So they were playing the next game, and the Carolina fans will never admit it, but they were pulling a little bit, for some, because it was just one of those unique situations that two teams from, 20 minutes away from each other could have the opportunity to play each other in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things. It was a unique situation. We're literally one play away from beating Kansas and going to the Elite Eight and playing UNC, which would have been crazy.
I remember that. You got is this it's how your dad's career at Marion College.
Again, he's another one that, that's where I get my work ethic from. Just worked hard. He got cut all 4 years in high school.
He got a lot of. This is great, man.
All 4 years in high school and still managed to go on and have a college career. Yeah. So
that is awesome. Someone say not meeting your wife. I think that's another memory.
Yeah, that's a great memory. Tony Ann was a softball player at NC State.
There you go.
So that was a great one.
Oh, that's awesome. So then your playing career is over at State, and what was it like preparing for the draft? I know you went on draft, but would you just kind of walk through that? Did you have an opportunity to think you were maybe going to have your name called and then go through the free agent process? Just talk about that real fast.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Looking back on it, I did I think it was 13 NBA workouts. So I was all over the place in a short time, going through these workouts, 6 people meeting, GMs, former players were there. So just kind of going through facilities and kind of, enjoying that moment. And obviously, I talking with my agent, obviously you thought a second round might be an option there. It didn't work out, but just looking back on it, it's just one of those things that just, having a good time, enjoying the moment, and being able to look back.
Well, what's interesting is even, if you fast forward, I know you finished in 13, but if you finish, how the league is now, it's a different game.
Yeah.
I was having that same conversation a little before your time, but Joby, Thomas, Diego Guevara were 2 of the best shooters. Joby went on to go play, 10 plus years in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were just chatting about it. I was like, if that's today, he's making a team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Defensively, you can hide them a bit, but they're going to shoot.
Yeah.
You spread them out. And the way the 3 ball goes up now, but so, you don't make a rally. Obviously we're in Golden State, so that had to be an experience. And now you go to Europe. So just kind of talk about that process. I think you played about 6 years professionally. Is that about right?
Yeah, we played, I think it would have been 7.5. So I was in Spain 3 years, did the Warriors D-League the next year, Turkey, France, Montenegro, back to Spain.
Now, and were you married during?
I wasn't married to start. So my first year, maybe the second. I think first year I was alone. So that was the hardest one.
Were y'all dating then?
We were. She was back home working. I tell everybody, if you can get through the first year, you can get through a lot of them. The hard part is people get there and then you get a culture shock. It's hard to get in contact because it's a 6-hour minimum time difference. So it's kind of difficult to start, because then I was also there for a week and I didn't play basketball. So it's like, oh, this is really weird. So once you get past that, it's pretty easy. So then she came, I think the second year. I had my dog with me. Shout out to Shooter, my dog.
Shooter
kind of got me through a lot of it. So then I kind of got in a groove, had a really good first year, solid second year, stayed with the same team for 3 years, which is very rare in Europe because they.
And where was this? Where was
Murcia, Spain, which is about.
It was halfway. At the level
ACB.
Yeah, because like they have similar level, almost like minor league baseball here. You have the show then. So that was the highest level there. So, and you were in Spain, you said?
Correct.
So, do you play just all teams in Spain or is it in Europe? How does that work?
So, you have, it's called Liga Endesa, which is the whole Spanish league. So that has the Real Madrids, Barcelona's, Labracucha, Valencia. Those are all like the big teams. And then Murcia, the team I was on, was kind of like the middle of the pack. And then they actually ended up going into the second league, which for them was Champions League. So Champions League allowed them to play outside, which would be, you'd have your weekend game, which would always be Spain. And then you'd have your weekday game, which would be a Tuesday, Wednesday, which would be Champions League. So you'd play a German team or a Turkish team. So I was lucky enough to be on a Euro Cup team during my career and a Champion League team. So I got to experience outside the country.
Game? How was the ball there? Are the fans cool? What was it like?
They're crazy. They're crazy. Turkey, I always tell everybody I was actually playing my former team in Spain, UCAM Murcia in Turkey, And all of a sudden, I see a boot coming out of nowhere. They threw a boot at one of the players on the court. I had to play a game with no fans because the previous year they shot off fireworks in the arena. I mean, they're crazy. It's sometimes scary crazy, but it's also one of those things that they really get rowdy and they really get behind their team.
And in regards to the pay over in Spain, what's that? I mean, obviously make a really good living.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I was able to make a really good, living over there. Try to stash as much as you can. Mm-hmm. It's not tax free, but you don't pay your federal tax in the States, but you still got to claim it. So the Spanish team takes care of all the taxes. So what you make is what you get. So that's one of the things. They take care of your cars. They take care of the house. All you really pay for is your gas if you want to travel and go do stuff.
How was your Spanish?
The funny thing is I actually had a Spanish client the other day, and I had to get a translator. And I told him I was trying to follow it. And now that I've kind of been out of it, I've kind of lost. But as long as I kind of know the topic, I'm kind of able to follow. The hardest part is kind of putting the words into it and getting the correct grammar. But I was able to know enough that if we were going out to dinner, I could order some food and some things like that.
And so did your wife end up going overseas with you for some of the time?
Yep, she was over there. Not the first year, but once we got married, she was able to get the visa with me. She was with me the whole time.
Very cool. And in regards to playing professionally, we touched on this a little bit. We had lunch the other day, and I thought it was very interesting. Just the difference. I mean, obviously you're playing professionally, getting paid. But what would you say the biggest difference when you made that jump, and then of course when you're over there playing?
You mean from college to?
Yeah.
Honestly, I tell everybody that.
I mean, other than getting paid, but what's the difference?
For me, it was a lot of fun. From a game standpoint, especially Spanish league, just a lot more physical. So I thought the translation from college to Spain was very similar. They run a lot of sets, not so much like NBA where it's a lot of, isolation. It was a lot more team oriented, similar to college. But the one thing I think what I told you was it kind of got hard because it now turned into pay. You had to be a little bit more selfish. And when I was playing, it was very team oriented. I always say the first thing my dad asked me when I got home was, did you win? So when you get turned into a pro, your agent wants to know how many points did you score? They don't necessarily care about, the wins and losses. So for me, it kind of turned into a paycheck. And that's one of the reasons, obviously, COVID was a big factor of why I stopped playing. But one of the things is it just started to suck kind of the fun out of it.
What was a normal training day for you?
It was a lot, they definitely get after it in Europe. So you get usually you'd have a two a day. They cut it off a day before game day. So then you'd have one practice the day before game day. And it would either be practice or workout 2.5, 3 hours in the morning. And then you'd come back, have a quick lunch and come back, mid-afternoon and have another practice there. So they worked it pretty hard. Yeah.
So but let's just say an off day for you, like training wise,
mm-hmm.
I mean, it's your full-time job. So in regards to your training regimens, how many hours a day were you putting in? How many shots were you trying to get up?
So once I turned pro, I would say my shots actually probably came down because I was trying to
kind of
rest the body and not wear myself out. But at the same time, you just had to keep yourself in shape. It turned more into not necessarily gym hours, but just being with the physio, getting ice on the knees and trying to take care of the body a little bit more.
And your best memory from overseas?
We were playing Bilbao, which was in Spain my first year. And I was like 1 for 12 or 13. And all of a sudden we're down 2 and the coach draws up a play. And all of a sudden I'm kind of looking at the play and I'm like, he just drew a play for me to hit a 3. I'm like, this guy's got to be crazy. He's either trying to get me fired to miss this and lose the game, or he's trying to get fired. And ran the play, knocked down the shot, hit a game winner. And I don't show much emotion during the game. I'm very kind of level, just kind of, expect to be great. And I made a shot, and I actually did. I showed a lot of emotion just because there was a lot of frustration throughout the game. I did. Right when I shot it, I pretty much knew it was good. And looking back on it, it was just a real good moment. I mean, the gym was packed. They were going crazy. Just being able to, have a rough day at the office and be able to knock down that shot was a good time.
And so what led you to retirement? You mentioned COVID, but when did you know it's time?
Well, that's the tough part. I didn't know I really didn't know if it was time. I still had I tell everybody, if somebody called me today, I wouldn't be surprised to be able to play. Like I know I could do it. Skill wasn't the issue. It was just a lot of things have been happening. You're over there for 10 months. You know, you don't get to see family. You don't get to see a lot of stuff. My wife, you know, made a lot of sacrifices to be over there. So, you know, when COVID hit, I had my firstborn. I was lucky enough that year that I actually had gotten back from Spain before COVID got really bad. And then I started talking with a lot of my former teammates that got stuck over there. They had to limit their pay because they weren't able to play any more games.
How long were they there?
They had to stay. I mean, they had to stay almost all of the summer, and they didn't. And they stopped playing games because of the outbreak.
And they were locked down over there.
Yep. I mean, I to this day I remember Augusto Lima. He'll never watch it. Brazilian, Spain, but he would show a video in Spain where the streets were completely empty. You could only leave the house to get groceries. Only time you could leave. They were forced in all the houses.
And where was he staying? Like a condo?
Yep, in his apartment.
Wow.
And so just kind of hearing the stories about that, I had a 1.5-year-old time. I found out my wife was pregnant. You know, I kind of looked at her, and she playing softball obviously was trying to kind of push me to do it. Because she's like, when it's done, it's done. It's going to be hard. And, you know, I just didn't want to take my kids over there and be stuck. And I knew that I couldn't go back over there and regret being stuck. So, so that's one of the things. It stinks about, you know, the timing of it. Just a little bit.
I'm good. We'll be able to play through this.
Yeah, but
a little spill on the set. Keep talking.
We'll clean it up quick.
Yeah,
you know, on the go.
On
But just looking back on it, you know, I really wish, you know, I could have obviously continued to play, but I had some really good people in my corner. Obviously, Chris Corciani was one of those guys about, you know, taking the next steps on what to do. And then obviously it led me into the mortgage business.
Yeah, so that goes right into my next question here. You know, what made you go, and you're with Northpointe Bank, right?
Northpointe Bank.
So what made you go there? Like, what was the process there?
You know, obviously the first person that helped me was Chris Corciani, who, when he finished playing, went into the mortgage side of it. So I kind of talked with him and said, hey, how'd you end up in this? Like, what was your thought process? And the first thing he said was obviously coaching and staying in basketball was the first thing I thought of. And I was like, same thing with me. I've known basketball for 30 years of my life. Coaching would be a very, very easy transition.
I'm just cleaning a little bit as you talk, so don't worry about it.
You're good.
Okay.
But one of the things that, you know, he brought up is obviously with coaching, there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of movement. So, you know, being overseas, I was literally going from year to year, different places. And I really didn't want to do that to my family.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also said it, basketball is always going to be there. If you want basketball, it'll always be there. So, you know, he got me in touch. Mike Proctor, who's a realtor, kind of got me in touch with Northpointe. Daryl McCarthy, Jason Anderson at Northpointe, you know, kind of basically said, look, if this is something you're interested, we'd love to give you the opportunity. It's been very stress-free. They don't put a lot of pressure on me. Obviously, trying to still learn the business because it's something that I've never done before. But I have a really good support team that's with me that can help me out through anything that I need. And that's been the nice part, is just having that support system. And it's kind of very, you know, kind of team oriented to where, you know, I'm coming from basketball, which is a team, and now I have a team set in place that can help me and help me be successful in the mortgage side of it as well.
I'm sorry, guys, I had a spill on the set, and I'm trying to, I don't know, my mouse didn't work. I'm going to play through this right here. This is like, you know, just want to find a little adversity right now, but that's exciting.
Icing the kicker.
Yeah, it is. And so it's cool because, you know, you get into a business where it's people, you know, relationships.
Yep.
And also, you know, I see a lot of, you know, as far as what you took from the hardwoods onto the business side, I'm sure that, you know, you're acclimating well. And so what do you do? Anybody have already mentioned this as far as just day to day, or what's your ultimate goal with helping clients?
You know, the fun part about it is kind of like you said, it's helping clients. And one of the things that I really didn't know what to expect getting in the business, but one of the things that I've really enjoyed is, you know, having the meetings with you, clients, getting to know them, getting to know, you know, their business side of it. And it's like I told you, it's just trying to learn, you know, the things that you've done to be successful in your industry as well. And being able to take that and put it with my day-to-day. You know, I've told you, obviously you you kind of helped me, because obviously one of the things I want to do is really drive the social media side of it. So you gave me a lot of advice to be able to drive that as well. So it's one of those things that, you know, at the end of the day, you just want what's best for the client. So trying to find out what is best for them, as well as, you know, just trying to build that connection, see how they've been successful in their life, and try to implement my everyday work as well.
In many ways, it's just game planning.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I, you know, approach our business is, and why hashtag Coach Terb. I mean, it's just the relationships. You got to know your numbers. You got to really be the expert. You got to really separate yourself, because we're in a world today where a lot of people think they can do a lot on their own, and they rightfully so. You can always say, Alexa, do this or that, and you know, you've got to be able to show them and put them in the right positions to win. So that is really cool. So in regards to your goals, like, so what do you see yourself in 5 years in the business?
You know, obviously it's continuing to grow. Obviously, I don't have a huge background on it, but I have the support team in place to be able to help me. And I think that's one of the things is currently it's hard to see, you know, the 5-year plan for me, but I just want to continue. Obviously, you want to continue to grow your business. You want to continue to grow your clientele and be able to help them. But at the end of the day, it's about me being able to say, you know, the same with basketball. You have a work ethic, and if you can implement that work ethic every single day and do it no matter what you're doing, whether it's, you know, whether you're a painter or a fireman, and just continue to work hard, you're going to be successful at anything you do.
Yeah. And something that I watched last week, and we all know who Nick Saban is, if not, head coach Alabama, 7-time college champion.
Yep.
And when I first see him, I'm like, man, that's one guy I'd want to work for. The guy's probably borderline crazy.
Yeah.
Most head coaches are. But one thing that he said that just resonated with me is he's never worried about the scoreboard.
Yeah.
He's worried about the process. He's infatuated, or he's obsessed with the process of getting the results that they want, which is winning to get, you know, which if you do the process, you're concentrating on the process, you're going to win. And it's the same in our industry from day to day, and what you need to accomplish, you need to put in place. And I just, you know, I was telling someone else, I had lunch with another agent just trying to get ideas, you know, he's picking my brain. I said, it's the process. It's kind of like being obsessed with the basics, that Kobe Bryant video I sent you. And it's just nothing. And so we have a lot in common with that industry. So what do you love most about what you do now?
I think it's easy for me. It's the connection with people. It's like I told you, you know, I can meet with, you know, a ton of people, and maybe it doesn't translate into business, but for my thing, it's absorbing the knowledge that they've gained over the years and the things that have helped them be successful, and try and implement it in my day-to-day. And if I can find out, you know, if I could take one thing from you that really made you successful and you really think it worked, and implement it and you know, my day-to-day, it's going to make me that much stronger. And if I can continue to do that and just learn, that's one of the things. And if, you know, obviously I'm building connections every single day, but it's just, you know, the meetings with, you know, Wolfpack Club, you know, I'm doing something different. I'm in the mortgage world. I'm in lending, you know, just getting your name out there and continuing to build connections and network has actually been one of the most fun things that I've done in a long time.
Yeah. And I love helping people win.
Yep.
You know, at the end of the day, we're in similar positions. Real estate financing is, you know, helping people win. It's kind of like when you call past clients, or you're following up with clients, and you have some people, I just don't know what to say. I don't want to bother them. Like, you know, you're helping them.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they don't need your help at that time, they're going to let you know, but you're helping them. And whether that's, you know, downsizing, getting a new home, you know, I mean, it's really rewarding. And in this market, there's no better, you know, feeling than telling them to start packing. So it's really cool. Well, that's awesome, brother. I got some rapid questions for you.
Okay.
I like to ask these to all my guests, and just like to see what you have to say. And then I always cap it off with my question I've asked every guest on the Super Terb podcast. I always say, when the Super Terb podcast does retire, I may put a book together with all the answers that I received. So it's pretty cool. All right. So favorite place you've traveled?
Favorite place I've traveled. Let's go with Paris, France.
That is cool.
Paris, France. I tell everybody it's very unique in the fact I feel like you can walk to almost outside of Palace of Versailles. You can almost go and see everything in Paris. It's almost like a small city, but it's still big.
And have you eaten in the restaurant at the top of the Eiffel Tower? It's like
my parents did. I actually never went up that.
Yeah,
I lived there for 10 months and didn't.
I went to Paris once. I've only been to Europe once, and my dad and I did a Beyond Band of Brothers tour.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a history major, World War II buff, and my dad and I did an 11-day tour.
Yeah.
From Normandy all the way to Munich. So it was awesome. But my mom and dad went out 5 days before me and kind of had their own vacation. So I was in Paris a couple of days with both mom and dad. And then when we went to go meet our tour at De Gaulle, mom flew home, but we had dinner at the top of the Eiffel Tower, and that was pretty cool.
Awesome.
And we also did a river tour. Yep. We went into the Louvre and saw Mona Lisa and all that. And, you know, it was really cool. So where's one place you haven't been, but you want to visit?
One place I haven't been. Maybe Australia. I've really been to a lot of Europe. I've actually seen a lot of Europe. I haven't actually been over to Asia. Australia, I think me and my wife both kind of said I think Australia would have been fun. That was one of the places I would have enjoyed to play was the Australian League. So if I had to say one, probably Australia.
That would be cool. It's a long way over there, but
I know that's the problem.
Favorite movie?
Anything Marvel related. I'm a big comic book guy.
Did you see the last one with the rings?
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. Endgame, all that stuff.
Right. You watched all in the sequence?
I've done it probably a couple times.
Really?
Yeah.
So I've been good to my best friends. He big into it too, and he's like, "Hey, I want to go see this last one." It was like the 10 Rings or something.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I've not really got into it. It was actually really good, and then it made me want, go back because does Disney have them all?
Yeah,
I think so. So he's already texted me the sequence and
all the order.
And then of course they had to tell us you had to stay in the theater, and we actually went to the theater. It was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they have something at the end after all the credits of what's coming next. So it was pretty cool. So favorite restaurant.
Ooh.
You can say something local here in Raleigh, and then if you want something internationally or in the country.
That's tough. So when I was in college, it was I Heart New York Pizza on Hillsborough Street. And then a close second was probably El Cerro on, I think it was Avon Ferry at the time. Now, I really, really like, in my area, Holly Springs, I love Blaze Pizza. Blaze Pizza to me, that little thin piece that's just the perfect amount to be able to finish it off. Blaze Pizza is probably my go-to now in Holly Springs. I see my aunt put B-dubs on there.
Yeah.
We're having a little technical difficulties with the screen. I poured a drink on my keyboard, so I can't operate the mouse right now. So we're seeing the comments. I just can't bring them up. So keep saying it. We can kind of see parts. But this is how you play through it. Sometimes again, it's adversity here. But we're managing. Favorite sports team? Obviously, I think you said the Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers, Pittsburgh Penguins, Pirates.
All Pittsburgh, huh?
My mom grew up in Pittsburgh, so I love the Pittsburgh side of it. So it's going to be a tough year, but I'm a faithful, so I hope they continue to pull something. You can be an honorary
Panthers fan with me this year.
Oh, if they're in the playoffs, I might have to change teams.
And then the Canes too. Canes.
So I did that when the Penguins were out. I went to a few Canes games. I had a blast. So if they played each other though, we might have an issue. But I tell everybody now, I'm slowly learning to really enjoy the Canes because now that I've been here and been able to go to a few games.
That's all I get. Any two people you can have dinner with in the world, whether they're alive or deceased. It's always, I like it stumps everybody.
I can name a lot.
That too.
I could name a lot. The first one would probably be Larry Bird, an Indiana boy. Just being able to sit with him and kind of hear his stories.
I bet he's got some good ones.
Larry Bird would be my first one. And my second one will probably be Michael Jordan.
That would be Jordan and Bird. They can talk about the McDonald's horse game.
Yeah, there you go.
It's probably still going on over there.
Two of some of the greatest players to ever do it. Obviously, Michael Jordan's probably the greatest, and then Larry Bird being an Indiana guy.
Here's the last question. So this is the question that I ask all my guests. And I love all the answers. There's not a wrong answer, but the best piece of advice you've ever received and by who?
So the best advice I've ever got. The problem is I've got to figure out who told me it. I've heard it a couple times. It may have been a Bobby Lutz, or I think it might have been Bobby.
Well, that's cool.
Just control what you can control. I tell every. I got a Scott Wood shooting academy that I do in the afternoons. I tell everybody this. At the end of the day, you can only control your work ethic, the time you put in the gym to be great. And it goes the same thing in your profession. If you put in the time and you have a great work ethic, it's going to work out for you. If you can hold yourself accountable. But at the end of the day, you can only control certain things. You can't control interest rates. You can't control playing time.
It's funny you say that, because my first year in the business, maybe first year or two, because, we come from backgrounds. Obviously, you played. I played in high school, but, being in the same background of where we're wanting to control everything.
Yeah.
And I just remember finally around year 2 or 3, I'm like, and it wasn't until the last few years when one of my coaches told me, you've got to unattach yourself to the outcome. You do the absolute best you can. You do the best for your clients. But at the end of the day, there's things out of your control. But I would lose sleep at night. I'd have, knots in the stomach. But it was, it's kind of what you're saying is. But so I think that's a great answer. Scott, brother, this has been fun.
Yeah.
You're gonna stay with me though for my last segment.
Okay, perfect.
I always talk about a local beer of the week. We talked about it briefly before we came on. Real quick though, with everybody watching, just let them know how they can reach you, or learn more about finance, helping them with their finances and So obviously, I'm going to tag you on social, but if there's anything else you'd like to say, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, you can reach me on any type of social media platform. Obviously, I'm big onto that. Northpointe Bank. I got a great support system behind me. At the end of the day, we're going to always do what's best for the client. And that's the one thing that, we've learned. We had someone the other day, we couldn't necessarily help them with a certain product, but we made sure that we found someone that could. So, obviously we want to build that connection. Feel free to reach out to me, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram. Obviously, I post a lot of things about, being able to help clients and what we've done in the past. So feel free to reach out with any of your home lending needs, whether it's a refinance or a purchase, and we'd love to help you.
You message me, I'll hook you up. All right, man, I'm going to take a break. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
Great time.
I'm going to come back, guys. We're going to wrap up the show, talk about our local beer of the week. Let's do it. And welcome back to the Super Terb Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert in the Raleigh-Durham, or what we like to call Triangle area, a.k.a. Coach Terb, a.k.a. Super Terb. And I'm still got Scott Wood with me. Say hello. He's here, my guest. Today we've had a phenomenal conversation, but something I like to do is talk about a local beer of the week. I do like cold beers, and we have a lot of good breweries, got good things. And you know what? It just feels right. It's starting to cool down. It's got that fall crisp, and I thought of pumpkin beer. I don't know if you're a pumpkin beer fan, but there's a pumpkin beer that's probably my favorite. And guys, it's in Fuquay Varina. It's Aviator Brewery. They got a great brewery down there. Obviously, they can get the beers in the stores locally, but they've got a pumpkin. It's obviously the best name ever, PumpkinBeast Beer, and it's 5.4%. You know what? You're going to start trick or treating soon. You got the little ones. You're going to be. I know they're small.
Yeah,
but it's coming. And what you need when you're pushing the stroller, you got beer in there. You're going to learn. It's I've already helping you with that. And a lot of the dads, we got the pumpkin beer. But they're just a great brewery. Go check them out. Tell them Terb sent you. But this has been awesome, guys. If you're loving the podcast, please leave a comment. Obviously, subscribe, share, you name it. But most importantly, if there's anything that I can do to help you accomplish real estate goals, we'd love the opportunity. We'd be honored to help you. That's our ultimate goal. And again, so I'm going to sign off. Anything you got to say?
No, I've enjoyed it.
This has been fun, right?
A lot of fun.
I'm coming on his podcast, Life as a Manager.
Yeah.
Or I can be Life in the Deuce. I was going to write a book, Life in the Deuce, Division 2 basketball. You know what the Division 2 steakhouse is?
What is that?
McDonald's.
Really?
Yeah.
I used to kill McDonald's back in the day.
I'm seeing my old boss this weekend. We're flying to Dallas for the Panthers game. And I'll never forget, we still joke today. He was a great head coach. Great. I was the best man at his wedding. Just can't wait to see him. But I'd be in charge of meals, negotiating free drinks.
Yeah.
And bus driver eats free. And we
Yep.
have everything labeled. And, those are the things that I miss. When people say, do you miss it? Obviously I love being inside the room. I did all the 4 years of scouting reports, game breakdown, stuff like that. But I miss the guys and just, obviously it was more fun when you're winning.
Yeah.
But those are the things that I miss. So guys, it's Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert with the Attitude Review of Coldwell Banker, HPW, signing off with the Super Terb Podcast. Until next time, remember, who you work with matters. See ya.